And now it's time for a lukewarm defense of Aegon Targaryen. No, that's Aegon the Conqueror. Different guy, same name. Let's try this one more time. Aegon Targaryen. Okay, that is Aegon the Unhappy, and that's a spoilers. Not everyone has read the books. One more time, Edit Monkey. I believe in you. Aegon Targaryen. That is a literal baby. That is a human child. Not a character yet. One last time. Aegon Targaryen. That is a dragon. That is a dragon, and now I'm only 85% sure you are not intentionally f***ing with me. Come on, guys. Aegon Targaryen, second of his name, lawful king of Westeros, protectors of the Andals and the First Men, all that jazz. Aegon the Usurper? Window jerk-off kid. Yeah, now that's my boy. I should call him Aegon the Unwashed. Aegon the Greasy. Up top, Edit Monkey. I'm my own Edit Monkey. Should I keep that in? Is that okay to say? Is that racist? Now here's a little bit of a peek behind the curtain for you all. When writing the script for this video, I was really struggling with introducing the why I am making this specific video. Because most of the time it is as simple as, I have an idea I think would be interesting. I make a video about it. However, this video is more of a response to a fan consensus with a singular tipping point where I thought, okay, yeah, no, I gotta make a video about this one. And then I realized that much like getting into my high school D&D group, blunt force was an option? I can just say the thing in a video, and that's fine. So here's a little snippet from a podcast that is more competent and well-produced than my own. Roll clip, Edit Monkey. So good to me.
Aegon is like on the carriage ride to go get crowned king. He's like, did Daddy like me? Daddy didn't like me. Shut up.
She's like, you imbecile.
Slap him one more time, Allison. I'm not for that, but slap him one more time.
Now, I want to get ahead of this and make it crystal clear immediately. This video is in no way meant to be an attack against either Jason Concepcion or Greta Johnson. I'm actually a huge fan of your guys' work. I find the podcast to be both entertaining and insightful. And along with the how it's made and behind the scenes featurettes, it became just as much a part of my weekly watching ritual for House of the Dragon as the show itself. It's just a provocative title meant to garner more clicks since how the business works. But well, we're here. Jason, Greta, thank you so much for watching. I know you are. You guys are more than welcome to be on my podcast anytime you want. Or better yet, you could let me on yours. And we can have this conversation again, but with people to listen and hear with their ears. If a video essayist makes a video and it does no traction, does he truly have takes? Now, first things first. Aegon sucks. He is petulant, neglectful of his duties and responsibilities, self-serving to a point of cruel indifference to others, and his proclivities, shall we call them, include a delight in violence. Now, in case you haven't seen the show or were a little caught off guard by self-indulgent to the point of a cruel indifference to others, that was my YouTube ad-friendly speak for. He sexually assaults women and fails to recognize that what he did was sexual assault, or that sexual assault is in fact a bad thing. Aegon's terrible. Shitty little piss gremlin he is. I get it. But he's not shitty in a vacuum, devoid of context. He's not a Joffrey. This fucking show! My point being that sympathy in a literary context simply means understanding why a character is the way they are. So, if your conversation simply ends at, Aegon sucks, lol, I think you're doing yourself a disservice engaging with the show analytically. I also think you're missing out on how the show handles one of its larger themes. Take that little thought, we're gonna pin that off in the corner, come back to it later. Because if House of the Dragon exists in the legacy of Game of Thrones being a spin-off of it, one of the things Thrones did best was introduce seemingly unlikable characters, but then it would give them the spotlight, allow their perspective and ethos to shine through, giving them a little bit of extra dimensionality, making them feel like real people.
You heard of wildfire? Of course. The Mad King was obsessed with it. He loved to watch people burn. So he had his pyromancer place caches of wildfire all over the city. Finally, the day of reckoning came. We opened the gates and my father sacked the city. Came to the king, begging him to surrender. He told me to bring him my father's head. Burn them all, he said. Tell me if your precious Renly commanded you to kill your own father and stand by while thousands of men, women, and children burned alive, would you have done it?
Ah, Jaime, you're still my favorite character, and hey, in the books, you're not a rapist for no reason. And no, I'll never get over the decision. It was actually the worst. And folks, don't we love great decisions by great writers, like deciding to burn down the entire Golden Calf to make a Star Wars movie? How's that coming out? Or that shitty Confederate fanfiction you guys wanted to write. Yeah, it's right there with my second Punisher video. Good job, guys. So Jason, Greta, you want to let me on your official HBO-backed podcast still? Speaking of unhappy babies, Aegon Targaryen is a profoundly unhappy child. That's why he's constantly making this face. He also seemingly has a substance abuse problem pre-time skip. And addiction, much like Aegon's negative behavior, do not happen in a vacuum. There is a primal dissatisfaction, a fundamental hole in Aegon's personhood he is trying to fill with alcohol, sex, child violence. Now, using my pop psychology degree I got at the University of Armchahir, I can tell you that neglected children often act out as a means to garner attention. Because even negative attention is better than the none that they are accustomed to. Speaking of actions that are designed to warrant you attention, remember how the plot of episode 9 was Find Aegon? Because when the Ulrich brothers finally do find Aegon, and this is just a real quick aside, my personal read on this situation is that Aegon paid to have himself be kidnapped. His first words are,
Where is the White Worm?
Kinda seems like he was in on it. Aegon knows what's up.
She sold you for a price. And why have you paid it?
Yeah, why would you spend money on me? I was trying to leave. Also, I'm worthless. And importantly, the last thing he has to say in this scene is,
I want my mother.
Now that is a literal desperate plea for attention. I don't know how else to describe that. And real quick, while we're on episode 9 and this scene in particular, I'd like to pause and just make another little micro case for Aegon, because I've talked a lot about what Aegon is in negative terms, but I'd just like to real quick give him a positive one, because Aegon is self-aware when he says,
I have no wish to rule, no taste for duty, I'm not suited.
He's correct. Despite the title being a lukewarm defense of Aegon Targaryen, I do not think he would make for a good king, and Aegon would be the first person to agree with me on that. And it takes a not insignificant amount of self-recognition to be able to recognize when you are ill-suited for a task. And if everyone in a room says, hey, you should do that thing, and you are the one person who is able to say, hey guys, I'm not qualified to do that thing, then congratulations, you are being the only reasonable person in that room. Aegon Targaryen, the most reasonable man in all of King's Landing, and that is pressingly accurate. Now, I guess we could argue here over whether or not Aegon has ulterior motives, whether or not he understands that his reign would make things worse for the common folk, or if he simply does not want the responsibilities, and to that I would say, I really do not care. It is a conversation of intent versus impact, and one greatly outweighs the other. For an example, when my cat pees on my clothes, her intent is to make this house feel like a home. Now the effect is that my clothes all smell like piss. So I find arguing over whether or not Aegon has, air quotes, the correct motivations to be mute and pointless. particularly when you understand that the effect of making Aegon king will lead to, and let me just get my notes real quick, make sure this is 100% accurate. Oh, it's plunging Westeros into a violent civil war resulting in the death of all the dragons. That sounds awful. And hey, you know what else is awful? Aegon's parental relationships.
They don't understand. They ain't gonna get it. No, if you feel me.
Alright, talking about Aegon's relationships to his parents. Let's start with his dad, King Viserys. Do they have any screen time together? Just, one-on-one. Father-son, quality bonding, tight on the frame, close-up, intimate shots. Oh, wow, they don't have any scenes together at all. Damn, Viserys, that's your eldest son. Man, I wonder if this lack of any screen time together is meant to be reflective of, an absentee relationship or something. Okay, so Viserys is a bust. That seems to be a non-starter, but what about his mom? Alicent Hightower, Queen of the Realm, known for ruling with grace and understanding.
You are no son of mine.
Grade A parenting, Alicent. Well, hey, TV is a visual medium. Are there any scenes that really, display the foundations of the relationship with no dialogue? Just glances, affirming looks. Oh, that's a grim harbinger of things to come. And again, before we get too thick in the weeds of this, I do not want this video to come off as full-on Alicent slander. Though I lean personally more Team Blacks, I am fully in the Queen Alicent did nothing wrong camp. Hey Rhaenyra, you didn't have to bullface lie to your best friend on your recently deceased mother's grave for no reason. And because Alicent, much like her son Aegon, was placed in a position she should have never been in the first place. And we're not pulling that pin out just yet. Aw, gee, man, if only there were a podcast. I had brought up earlier that I could pull another clip from featuring the actress responsible for playing Alicent to bring up the point I am trying to make more succinctly and with a greater understanding of the character. That'd be super cool.
Do we see any tender moments? I mean, I think about even in early days with her and the babies just constantly crying. She just seems completely overwrought and exhausted. And then,
well, I think, it's children bearing children, isn't it? I don't think she has the motherly capabilities, to have a child at, I think we said 14. And I just think that as her children grow up and as she grows up with them, that relationship has been severed from the beginning, and she's trying to bridge the gap. And that she has these children that just bring her so much sadness and sorrow, and she feels like such a failure.
Yeah, it's not Alicent's fault she was a bad mom. She was 14. Now, it's easy to become enraptured in dialogue, to lose yourself in Westeros. And I would even argue that it's important to remember when engaging with fiction, particularly ones with a setting outside of our normal world, that we're not operating under our same moral compass. But if we can engage in Alicent's situations through modern parlance for just a moment, then I would simply ask you to remember that when people in the show say that Alicent's role as a queen is to sire heirs, this would translate to forcing your child bride to carry out pregnancies. Look at how unhappy she is to be having sex with this literal decaying old man. It's almost like the crushing weight of the patriarchy is locking Alicent down, holding her in place regardless of how she feels about it, and she's unknowingly internalizing these lessons, passing them on down to the next generation, and hey, that's what the show's about! Crazy! But where would Alicent have learned this behavior? Is it from the men in her life? From her dad? Yes, it is. It's explicitly Otto Hightower, that is what I am saying. Now let's talk about Otto Hightower. Now, Otto Hightower refused to recognize Rhaenyra as a legitimate heir to the king because checked wrong box on gender, I guess, and put into plans his grand machinations to one day make his grandson king. And by set in motion, I mean forced his daughter into undue situations beyond the grasp of her understanding to make her gain favor with the king. Grade A parenting, Otto. These unlofty and frankly unreasonable expectations placed on Alicent have resulted in nothing but undue stress and self-destructive behavior. Lessons that she has unknowingly passed on to her son.
And to secure her claim, she'll have to put your children to the sword. She'll have no choice. Either you prepare Aegon to rule, or you cleave to Rhaenyra and pray for her mercy.
If Rhaenyra comes into power, your very life could be forfeit. She could move to cut off any challenge to her succession.
You are the challenge! You are the challenge, Aegon! Simply by living and breathing!
I've done everything you've asked me to, and I try so hard, but it will never be enough for you or Father.
Psst. Hey, Alicent, that's how you feel about your dad. You gotta break the cycle. You gotta break the wheel. That's a joke. You'll get it in like 50 years. It's a callback to the future. Back to the future of trauma. And now, everybody, let's unpack that pin. And saying that sentence out loud, I don't think that's a correct metaphor. Now, intergenerational trauma is a little broad. In specific, I think the show is about the baggage we pass on to our children. It's simply a fact of parenting. Your parents are going to fuck you up a little. So did mine. It's fine. It takes a village, as they say. And mayhaps this little beat of the story is meant to be a microcosm, a reflection of the inherent absurdity of having a king, because human beings all come with strange inherent hang-ups, and when put into a position of power, those hang-ups can manifest as regressive, archaic, suppressive laws, so maybe we should just limit how much power we can exert over each other? Maybe that's good. Kings are bad is the point I and Game of Thrones are making. But let's really get into that baggage, or in this case, a feud that was inherited by the later generation. Remember the Last Supper scene in episode 8, Lord of the Tides? Hey, by the way, this is my favorite scene in the whole show, so if you'd like a further breakdown of that one in specific, just drop me a comment down below and I will totally make that video. Now this scene is a dying Viserys' final plea to broker peace between the two sides of his family. Now the tension is rich and thick, it can be felt in the air, and attempts to reach across the aisle go about as well as they do here in the States, until...
I wish to raise my cup to Her Grace the Queen.
I raise my cup to you, and to your house.
Rhaenyra and Alicent are able to break bread, to find common ground, connect over being family, mothers, queens to the realm, former best friends, because they have a context for all of this, a shared history together. Their relationship was put under an immense strain throughout the course of the series, but it never fully broke. When Alicent and Rhaenyra can look back on their relationship, there is a true fondness there. Memories of a time long ago, but never forgotten. However, that same fondness is thoroughly lacking in the history their children have. If it were just about Alicent and Rhaenyra, peace might have been ushered in here. But it's not just about them anymore. It's about their kids, and this feud that, although unintentionally, has in fact been passed on. Because ultimately it's Aemon, reminded of an insult years gone by, who breaks the peace. So what's Aegon's history with his family look like?
You will die screaming in flames just as your father did, bastards!
Wow, approximately 0 of that was good. But just like Aegon's shittiness, this violent altercation did not happen in a vacuum, and make no mistake, it is the parents who are at fault here. Because left to their own devices, the kids seem to have gotten along fine. Aegon in particular seemed to enjoy the company of his cousins Jason and Jaehaerys to his brother Aemon. So just what external factors could have been at play to sour these relationships?
You spar with Aegon.
Use your feet!
Don't let him get up.
Stay on the attack!
This is what you teach, Cole. Cruelty.
You are the challenge! You are the challenge, Aegon! Simply by living and breathing!
Oh yeah, it's the adults in their lives. It's almost like adults have a profound effect on the behavior of, again, literal children. Yeah, if your mom grabs you by the face and screams at you about how your older sister is one day gonna come back, kill you and all your siblings, Thanksgiving is ruined basically forever. So big ups to you, Otto. You traumatized your daughter, and now she has in turn traumatized your grandkids, and the realm is thoroughly fucked. The patriarchy. It's bad for everyone, even its beneficiaries. JPEG of Morton Joe's War Boys for no particular reason. And that sentence I said was another big reason why I wanted to make this video, because this system that was set in place to benefit Aegon has ultimately done nothing but harm him. Again, that is the face of a profoundly unhappy child. Aegon is a victimizer, yes, 100%. That cannot and should never be ignored, but so too is he a victim. Because the system of hereditary nobility ultimately doesn't value Aegon as a person. His emotional distress, his desires, his profound pain go ignored by the one person, in theory, a child should always have to rely on, their parent. Which is exactly what this system did to Alicent.
Hurt people. Hurt people.
So when I see Game of Thrones discussions and Aegon gets brought up, but then immediately offhanded as just a whiny kid, or his baseline humanity is ignored, it just doesn't sit right with me. It's like, hey guys, you're doing the thing the show is explicitly saying is bad. Break the cycle. You're engaging in the type of behavior that allows Aegon to do the things that are the reason you do not like him. Be better is the point. Empathy. It's fundamentally what storytelling is about. Oh, there's some things stuck in my throat. It's making plugging very difficult. But hey guys, we're at the end of the video where I tell you to like, comment, share, all the good YouTube stuff. Check out my podcast if you want. Remember to @Jason and Greta when this video comes out to get me on their podcast. And also, I just realized with that ending, disregarding the suffrage of a fictional character is not equivalent to committing sexual assault. So if that came off as insulting, I don't want it to be. Just want to make that clear because it's clicking in my brain now that I've made the video. That could be bad. But also, yeah, just like empathy, man. I care about people's suffrage and try to understand why they are the way they are. Anyways, that's the video. I hope it's not bad. I'm like super paranoid that it's gonna be bad. Buy my merch I don't have.